Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for Friday, September 22nd, 2017. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We're currently pulling back just mildly from these highs. Here's the FOMC key level that we got off of Wednesday's Fed interest rate decision, 25.04s. We've pulled back a little bit from that level, and that suggests that at some point here we may see some sort of rejection that'll bring us back to the level and perhaps even through the level. So we'll see how this plays out, but right now, as I mentioned before, the best opportunity is to wait for this pullback to come into the LVN, retest that 2480 perhaps, and then the trigger zone of the PIMAs, and from there look to perhaps defend it for another squeeze higher. Which means right now, short term, we could be seeing a little bit more weakness here very quietly as this thing pulls back. So continue to watch this. So right now, again, the best opportunity would be if this thing were to pull back somewhat into this zone here for a shot at higher prices. And again, if this thing does break to the upside, we've got 25.17 and 25.46 as the next upside key levels. Here's a look at crude oil. Crude oil right here, still holding at these highs, the previous month's high right here, and that's right where we are. As a matter of fact, that's exactly the price that we're at right now. And we've sat here all week long. This has been about the quietest week that I can remember in crude in a while, from start to finish. Here's Monday's action. Tuesday was an inside day. Wednesday barely peaked above and closed back within range. Wednesday stayed in range, and then Thursday and then Friday here, all in range still. So very, very narrow trading range behavior. And as you look down here as well, you'll see right on the PivotBoss Advanced ADR indicator, the measurement is very, very narrow compared to average. The last time we had something this narrow was right back here. And if you look up over here, we had the failed new high, and then eventually this thing broke down out of that narrow range. So again, that's something we can look for here. If there's a breakout in one way or another and it's a failed move, we could be looking at a reverse in the opposite direction. Again, this has not been the best area to do business for crude. I've mentioned that all week, that we're still kind of just sitting here around composite VPOC. We could continue to do this for a while before something happens. And so I'm going to continue to watch this little range here. I think we have the potential to see some nice movement here soon outside of this range. Any failure to hold 50 again could rotate this thing back toward 45.95. And again, 52s up above. If this thing sneaks in the 52s, that's going to be a very important level. Because it is a CLVN, it could be a first test fade back to value. All right, let's take a look here at the NQ. The NQ has been very similar here to the ES, and that is kind of held at these highs overall. We have a more defined trading range here, say from 5,900 up to 6K, really 60-20. That narrow range here has progressively compressed compared to the ranges we've had before. So if you look back in this time period here, from May, June, and early July, big wide range. Then you look at the middle of the summer, from late July into early September, the range shrinks, and now in September the range has been all of this. So this is super, super significantly tightly coiled. Typically what happens with that is you see expansion at some point. You see a big, big move. Maybe one of those one-day wonders that I talk about, where you see one big, huge move down, and from there this thing starts to climb again and open up. So right now, again, this is a very narrow range. Don't anticipate that price is going to stay in this range much, much longer. But we got to watch the boundaries here. 5,900, 60, 20. Watch for failed range expansion or true expansion. We could be looking at some significant movement. So continue to watch that range. Looking at the CL, actually gold. Let's look at gold. Looking at gold here, we've had quite a pullback. And this has been a fantastic pullback just because of the cues here. These right here, the failed new highs, and failed new highs. And I talked about it from the very beginning. This failed new high right here led to another 2-day drop, and now we're getting a pullback here in an inside day. This thing has been relentless, pulling back day after day. Again, this day right here is reminiscent of this day, and this day, and this day, where it's kind of a holding day after a move. And really, again, there's been no indication that this thing is finding a bid right now. So it still continues to show weakness. It's now below 1300, and again, another failed high, say Sunday night, Monday morning, could lead to another round of weakness, perhaps back to value 1253.60. So again, this thing is just quietly pushing downward. Very clear cues here that has given us another quiet day could be in store here as this thing digests ahead of the next move. So keep that in mind. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this plays out the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and happy Friday.